Today we're gearing up by making a collapsible coffin. And welcome to LarpForge. In the Gearing Up videos I kinda made the promise to make this collapsible coffin for my Undertaker. And I didn't really get to make the video before we went to ConQuest. Now I did make the coffin and everything, you can see some pictures here. And it's really neat. But before we get into actually what materials and everything you're going to use for this, you need to do some thinking first, because this is one of the most biggest and definitely the most expensive build I have ever done. I don't know how many times it took me to go to the hardware store and back again just to get all the materials right. First thing I needed to figure out was if I wanted a square chest or a coffin-shaped coffin like this one. And after a lot of thinking I went with this, even though it's the hardest one to do. Now I got some inspiration from another tutorial. Denny sent me this link to another guy who made a collapsible coffin for his, not a collapsible coffin, a collapsible chest. And it had like hinges as corners and everything. That was really clever done. However, I don't think it was able to fit a person. It seemed like a very small chest and would probably have been a little more unsafe if you were to put a person inside. I wanted a coffin that could fit like a 2-meter tall person and everything. So figure out what you need first of all and what your measurements are, and when you're doing this yourself, remember to take into calculation that wood is a lot bigger than something like paper. I kind of forgot that, so I had some few problems with mine. What I'm trying to say here is do your calculations. I also wanted mine to fit in the car, so I needed to think of how small pieces could I cut my chest into. Now I had a lot of thoughts, as you can see on the paper here, about making this coffin. However, I can't cover everything here, so this is going to be a very basic video tutorial. If you want, I can make a PDF version of this, and then I'll put the link in the description. Just tell me in the comment section if you want to. I haven't made it yet, so go down to the comments, tell me if you want like a PDF tutorial version, printable paper version of the collapsible coffin. Okay, anyway, the materials you're going to need for this are... Now I don't have all the materials or the right amount here. I kind of filmed this part after I put everything together, so please bear a little with me here. Now what you're going to need to bake this are a bunch of bolts, screws, wing nuts, washers, and when I say a bunch I mean like at least 200 screws, at least 200 bolts, screws, washers, wing nuts. A lot more than I show here. There's not room for it on this table really. Then you're going to need some metal plates, metal corners and metal hinges to keep everything together, and then so you're able to take it all apart. Then you're going to need some really thick rope for the hinges or handles so you're able to lift the coffin. I stained my wood because I wanted to be able to see the ores in it. I don't have any leftovers, I don't have anything to show you. However, you could also use paint. And then I used some lacquer to make it waterproof. And I think that's about it, all you need. Isn't there anything? Oh yeah, of course. You're gonna need a bunch of plywood. How could I forget about that? When you have measured out everything and done all your calculations, you bought your materials, then you just start to draw on your plywood where everything is going to be, and of course cut it out. Then it's a really good idea to try to get a friend or something. I got my girlfriend to hold up the corners and all the sides here, and then I laid down in it to see if it would feel claustrophobic, and it wasn't. It was pretty good. After I've cut everything out and I sanded the corners and edges, I started to stain it and give it lacquer. Now if you use paint, this is the time where you're going to use paint. Then I put my metal corners on and metal hinges and metal plates and all that stuff. And I used mainly metal corners and metal plates because it creates better support than just using hinges, even though hinges probably would create more flexibility if it were going to be collapsible. It wouldn't really create the right support if there was supposed to be a guy inside, so it wouldn't really be so safe to carry around. So I went with the corners and everything, and then to make it collapsible I didn't really make it collapsible per se, I made it detachable, so I could take it apart, and then I used bolts and wing nuts so I could fit it together and screw everything together and take it apart again. Now, going with wing nuts for this might seem a little stupid at first, because people are just able to screw themselves out of the coffin, but if you think about it, people are not supposed to be locked inside it for real. It's sort of like, well, it's a show-off. Yeah, I know there's a lot of metal in it and everything, but the real reason for using wing nuts here is that you're able to do this without a lot of tools. Did learn that it's probably a little good idea to make your holes for the bolts just a few millimeters larger than the actual bolt, and then use a small, what's it called, a washer, I think. That way you wouldn't create so much pressure on the plywood, so it wouldn't break that easy. And because it's wood you're working with, it's not gonna be as precise. You're going to bend it and twist it every time you're going to put it together. Giving that extra little space there, it's going to make it a lot easier to put together. Trust me on this one. After I've done all of that, I again sanded all the holes, gave that stain and gave that lacquer, or again, if you paint, you paint those. I also made a few holes down in the head section, because the guy who's supposed to be in there needs to get some air, so I made some air holes so it wouldn't be totally uncomfortable. It also creates a little extra light in there and the guy's able to see out. Now for hinges I was going to use the rope, so I made some large holes and of course also sanded those. It's a really good idea to sand those really nice. Then the rope is not going to break. After done all that, I tried to screw everything together again and applied the rope for the hinges. And yeah, well, just see if everything will fit together and see how it looked. And it's pretty darn good. I was really proud of this. It looked freaking awesome. Not so much on the inside, because there was like bolts sticking up everywhere and wing nuts everywhere. So it would be quite uncomfortable to lay on the inside. So to counterbalance that, I put some foam in, down where you're supposed to lay. Cut some Eva foam, I think it's called, out, and I put down that in bottom. And the good thing about this, it's really dense, and on one side it's actually water resistant. Well, mine was at least. It doesn't need to be, it's not the important thing. The important thing is that when you lay it on top of the screws, can you feel it or can you not feel it? Mine, you could feel the screws or the bolts, but it wasn't uncomfortable to lay on. It was actually pretty darn nice to be in there. I don't know if there's somebody who slept in it overnight, but you could definitely sleep in there. Just hope that nobody sits on it, because then you can't get out unless you start unscrewing all the wing nuts. Now I didn't really film it being used down in ConQuest, but I did take a few pictures of us putting it together. We were able to fit it into our car, and it's a really small car, and it was able to fit in there. Now I don't have a picture of actually in the car, but I have a picture of here, everything just put together, stacked nicely, and it actually doesn't take up a lot of space. And when I don't use it, put it in the room with all my LARPing equipment. Remember to put something really soft on the button so you don't ruin your LARP swords or some axes and other stuff, because the bolts on the inside, they're gonna leave marks. They are going to leave marks. One last thing, remember, no bolts in the head area. Put some really thick, dense foam in the bottom. Not put soft foam in there. Put thick, hard foam in there. If you want me to put a PDF version of this out, leave a comment down in the comment section saying, "We want a PDF!" Then I'm going to put it out and leave it in the doodly, that's called the description, not the doodly-doo. I don't know why people call it doodly-doo. That's it for now, and I'm going to see you later. Bye.